years after Toho kind of screwed up with Varan, they made Mothra. Now, I'll openly say it's not even close to being a horror movie. The only real reason why I've included it is because of how important it is to later Godzilla films. But it's great, it's very much more light-hearted, much more family-friendly, kind of more kiddie-focused in a weird way, but it still has the usual elements that make a kaiju movie. I mean, for crying out loud, it has a giant moth. I know that some people won't like the fact that this isn't even close to being a horror movie, which is why I mentioned at the start, but Mothra's good. The colour scheme of this film is a lot more bright than what you see in Rodan. They've actually been able to move on with technology a lot since the previous films, and it looks pretty great throughout. Of course, there's little bits of issues here and there, but let's head straight into review and we can talk about that. The film itself focuses a lot around Infant Island, which is the island where Mothra comes from, where they essentially discover that life is there, but previously everyone thought that it was just a barren, atomic wasteland. This leads to a group of scientists finding some small people known as the Shobijin, which are essentially Mothra's twin fairies. They're pretty good. They kind of tell them basically, go away in the nicest way. Then the two Shobijin end up being kidnapped. Mothra herself, though, is a very different kind of monster. Compared to a lot of the other ones, Mothra only attacks in this movie to get the Shobijin back. She doesn't actually want to destroy the world, she doesn't want to destroy Tokyo, any of that kind of stuff. She just wants her little twin fairies back, so it's much more of kind of like almost a revenge film is this one compared to the normal city destruction stuff. The movie as well focuses a lot on the themes of capitalism, corporate greed, all that kind of stuff, with the character of Nelson symbolising people which aren't the best kind of people if you look at all the stuff that's currently happening in the video game industry, for instance. Nelson, the main villain, essentially embodies that. I do have to state that as good as I do like the plot, it's a great plot. It's focusing just around the negative sides of capitalism, corporatisation, etc. Mothra's not really in this film. She's literally in the film for around about like 10 minutes in her adult form, and only for the second half of the movie in any form at all. It's quite a big shame, especially since how much I love Mothra, because she's probably one of my favourite kaijus, if not my number one. So giving her such a supporting role in her own movie kind of sucks in a way, especially when you consider how much Rodan and Godzilla and even Varan at times were in their own movie. Mothra doesn't really get that privilege. Back on a positive side though, the ending of the film is great. It ties up every single possible loose end, which is exactly what you want from these kind of movies. It's definitely not a film that was ever fully intended, or at least in my opinion, ever fully intended to go into any kind of franchise, no kind of sequels or anything like that. The characters all get their loose ends tied up by the end of the film. The actual storyline with the Shobijin and Mothra all tied up by the end of the film. There's no issues there at all. And it's a good ending. It's a fun ending. The bad guy gets what's coming to him, all that kind of stuff. And I think it does set a really good precedent for the character, since Mothra is much more of a kind kaiju. And it's something I really enjoy. I love the plot of this film. I know it's not the best, it's a bit cheesy, and I love the themes especially, because it is so on the nose and done so well. I can't fault anything really to do with this. Jesus Christ, another actual positive for this movie. The casting characters are actually done right for once. Essentially in this film, you follow a bunch of like journalists, a couple of scientists, all that kind of stuff, and it's fun. It's actually really fun. The kind of dynamic that the little group have is great to watch throughout. There's even a kid character which isn't so awful you want to tear your hair out whilst watching it, so all that's good. The character of Zen-chan especially is probably one of my favourite like kaiju characters ever. He's just really fun to watch. The actor who played him is really funny. A lot of the slapstick comedy stuff is done extremely well, and I can't really fault it. I also have to give a quick shout out to the character of Michi, who is essentially like the photographer person who follows behind Zen-chan. She's good, she's great throughout, and for once is not actually a female character who has any kind of romantic interest in the main character. It's just any other character who happens to be female, which is great. Dr. Shinichi is essentially the yin to the yang for Zen-chan. He's much more of a scientist character and is pretty good to watch. He has some good comedic moments. His little brother character especially has a great moment where he tries to find the Shobijin. So once again, good addition, great casting especially, and they're very fun to watch. Dr. Harada, on the other hand, is not as fun to watch. He's a decent enough character. He essentially just follows the normal scientist stereotype where they give the exposition explaining all the kind of stuff and trying to figure out logical terms behind it. They're quite forgettable, I will state. It really didn't need them. To be honest, if they swapped out the kid character with Dr. Harada, where he just says things kind of like off the fly compared to Dr. Harada's much more intelligent like analysation of it, it wouldn't have made too much difference in my opinion, but they're not bad. It doesn't take away much from the cast and characters at all. Speaking of good characters though, Nelson especially is great. He is the most obvious I'm a pure evil villain ever. He even has an evil like villain laugh later on in the film, but I love it. It's cheesy, it's shit. It's kaiju movies done perfectly right with the evil human villains. I love it. Obviously, this wouldn't really be much of a Mothra review if you didn't mention the Shobi-Jin. The Peanuts are absolutely amazing in this movie. If you don't know, the Peanuts are the twins who play Mothra in the film. They're good. The singing is absolutely outstanding. Mothra's theme will not leave your head for several days. Their voices are so angelic throughout it. And to be honest, they do play the characters quite well. I know that they're not fully known for their acting at times, but they do a really good job in this film and do give a lot of emotion to the performance, which is great. And obviously by this point all the other supporting characters are basically just there to give exposition. You can basically forget about most of them, so there's not much of a detail to go in here. I do like the cast and characters in this. They're pretty good, probably the best so far, which isn't really saying much. And it's great to watch throughout. I just wish that a couple of the characters, like Dr. Harada, and a lot of the like one-off supporting characters didn't just shout out exposition. It does drag it down a little bit. When it comes to the direction and cinematography, this film is pretty damn good. It definitely follows behind the stuff that they improved on in Rodan compared to the shit that they spewed out in Varan. It's a lot more fun. There's a lot of sweeping shots in this movie. The amount of static shots you can basically count on your hands. There's so little of that and I'm very happy. The biggest issue with this movie is the tone. Sometimes, because it's much more of a comedy family-friendly film, they really do hit that right on the nose, but when they try to do much more dark, serious stuff, like when a baby's about to be fucking murdered on a bridge, it seems so out of place compared to how much more lighthearted the rest of it is. And even the big destruction scenes, even though they are meant to be fun and cheesy, they can be really dark at times. And it does confuse me as to what kind of movie we're actually trying to make a little bit. It's only a couple of moments, but it is noticeable. Quick shout out, of course, to Mothra's hatching scene. It's gorgeous. I've used it as a fucking thumbnail for crying out loud. That's how good it is. It really does show how much better of a director Ishiro Honda has become over the years. And overall, the directing cinematography is probably the best in the series so far. So, no more complaints from me. The set design of this film is great. Infant Island, as a location, is gorgeously done. I would want to visit there. It's very well, it's beautiful, all the like weird like plant monsters that try to grab the Doctor. It looks great, and even the Doctor's house itself, great location, looks very realistic, very naturalistic, even though it was probably filmed at a studio, and all the other kind of interior sets all look great. There are absolutely zero complaints to me here. Well done to the set designers. The special effects of this film are kind of a mixed bag at times. I will openly state the destruction scenes, as always, look good. In fact, some of the parts in Mothra look even better than usual. It's pretty decent throughout, there's no real complaints here. Mothra actually flying is one of the most beautiful things you will ever see in a practical effected kaiju movie. There's no other way around it. She looks gorgeous, the flying looks so natural and so smooth. It's amazing how they were able to pull that off in 1961. But stuff that they weren't able to pull off in 1961 is blue screen. The Shobi-Jin in this movie, sometimes they look great, I'm going to state that. Sometimes they look absolutely brilliant. But sometimes they just look so weird and out of place. Like when characters try to pick them up at the start with Nelson. It just looks so bad. I can't think of any other way to say it. I know it must have been the effects in 1961 and I can't fully complain against that, but they must have seen at times how bad this looked even back then. I'm sorry. some bits of it just aren't very good. Other than that though, Mothra's flying, all the other destruction scenes, amazing, outstanding, and some of the Shobijin scenes, such as the part where they're doing the stage performance, looks great. This time the music wasn't done by my darling. Where were you, Akira Ifube?
Where were you?
This time the music was done by Yuji Koseki, who is pretty good in this movie, I will state. Mothra's theme is so memorable, you will find yourself humming it for days on end. I will state, a lot of the other songs are pretty good, but kind of average at times. And some parts of the film, when it seems like there should be music, doesn't seem to have any. I'm not sure if that's because I'm watching the American dub or not. It's just sometimes it is a bit irritating, but still an amazing score. And as much as I love him, you don't miss Akira Ifube too much in this. The quality of the sound effects in this one are probably as good as Rodan's. I haven't really got too many big complaints, but once again, similar to Varan, they seem to have this weird echo at times when there shouldn't be one. Like when some characters are talking, there's like a really obvious echo in both the dubbed version and the normal version. I don't understand why, I'm guessing it's just at the equipment that they had at the time, but not all the sounds sound like that. Almost if they had a dodgy mic and just didn't know until they finished production. It's good, apart from that, it is a bit irritating at times. Although, the best part of the sound effects is Mothra. The weird, beautiful roars and screeches she does throughout the film really do set the much more light-hearted tone and do show Mothra to be the first proper female kaiju, which is very exciting. It's great, it's still used to this day, is Mothra's roars. That's how good they are, that's how much people loved this sound design. It was done so well from the beginning, they didn't need to improve on it anymore, similar to Godzilla. Mothra's design is my favourite part of this film, and it's probably my favourite part every time Mothra appears. She's just gorgeous to look at. The actual design of her is hauntingly beautiful. When she originally raises her wings out after she hatches from the egg, it's outstanding to look at. It's great, I love Mothra, as I said earlier. She's a gorgeous, gorgeous design. No faults here at all. When it comes to the fight scenes of this movie, they're honestly not very good. The first thing you can kind of call a fight scene is when Zen-chan beats up a bunch of goons, which is really funny to watch, but it's also a little bit out of place at times. The other next kind of fight is with Mothra battling the Air Force, but it's nothing you haven't seen before in Rodan. There's nothing new with any of that, and it's really disappointing to see. It's just the same kind of stock footage looking planes firing a missile, and that's essentially it. The other thing you can kind of look at is the final fight scene where Mothra hatches from the egg and goes into her adult form. Once again, it's nothing you haven't seen before. It's very bland, it's very... yeah, okay. There's so little actual context behind a lot of the stuff, and it's, like I said earlier, it's just what you've seen before. There's nothing improved on, there's nothing that they've done any better than previous ones. It's just another city destruction scene with the army shooting at them, which is really disappointing at times. Overall though, Mothra is definitely my favourite Godzilla movie pre-King Kong vs. Godzilla. It's just such a weird film, but it's done so well, it's so beautiful to watch. The colour schemes in this are absolutely great. The directing is pretty top-notch, can't really do many things to complain there. The actual plot itself is fun, the characters are amazing in this one, Mothra is gorgeous. There's a couple of small issues, nothing really big, just a couple of small issues which could have very easily been fixed, which is why I find it kind of a shame. That's why in total I'm going to give Mothra a 7.5 out of 10. It is an amazing film and I recommend pretty much everyone who sees this video to watch it. It is worth it by quite a lot. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this, please share to like, share and subscribe. So next time that you see me, we're going to be going through King Kong vs. Godzilla, not Atragon. I know that I said originally Atragon, but I kind of got the years mixed up for the film's releases, and it makes a lot more sense to me to do it in that order. So, if you head up here, you'll see a playlist of all my other Godzilla films, and if you head down here, you'll see all of my old Jackson review stuff. King Kong vs. Godzilla next. I Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on Saturday. Goodbye!